So welcome back to Secret Leaders. Today, Chris and I are just in the studio having a catch up on all things interesting us and entrepreneurship. So Chris, what did you think of our James Watt Brewdog founder interview?
Well, I mean, I don't really get to drink beer very often in interviews.
Yeah, that was fun.
And it was like quite late in the evening, so I absolutely love that. And I actually did watch it back afterwards, and I was just getting so into it. So fantastic. I mean, fascinating dude, really, to have achieved that height of success and actually still seem incredibly like down to earth and normal.
I love all the fisherman stuff. Like, do you follow him on social? Like, he literally is just like constantly in his fisherman boat. Like, he's just, fishing for prawns the other day up in Scotland. Random.
Yeah, and he's
I mean, not random to him, but random to us.
Yeah, and he's permanently saying that if he had failed at Brewdog, he just wanted to be a fisherman again. I always wonder with statements like that, whether it's like, is that just like a media statement?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. But he's obviously sold his company, has more money than he ever needs, and he's starting another one. So like all entrepreneurs, he is obsessed with entrepreneurship.
By the way, you just reminded me, he did mention that he once almost lost 50 million quid. And at that time, you were waiting for a big payout from your agency, millions of pounds in the ether. Has it arrived?
Yes, it has arrived, yes.
Yeah? You feel a little bit more relieved today?
I was freaked in the moment because I was a little bit... and he told that story. And I don't know, someone had seen me outside stressing. I said, like, give me 5 minutes. I need to send my bank details through. And I came back in here, just sent my bank details through out there. And then he was like, there was a time where I sent money and I sent it to the wrong bank account. I was in here being like, wait, I mean, I love the podcast, but...
If God could ever send me a louder message, it's right now. Maybe I should listen to this.
So I like freaked for like 20 minutes in the episode. But yeah, no, it did arrive, and amazing outcome finally to put to bed.
Amazing. What do you do with that money? Have you got a plan for it? As in, you already had money, you were already wealthy. So when you have a new load of cash like that, is it like nice? Is it a new problem to solve? Like, because once you've got money, you kind of feel the next question is like, well, I should do something with the money. Well, what? Or I'm assuming you don't just let it sit in savings. So what does one do?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, I was always unsure as to whether I would get that additional money. So like you say, like I'm not particularly money driven, and I'm not someone that necessarily thinks about flashy things regularly. Like I have quite simple tastes. And so it's nice to have it because it's a recognition to myself, and I think to the world that I should have been paid the money for the work that I did over those 10 years and all the rest of it. So it feels great. But for me, like it just basically goes to my wealth manager, and he manages it, and there's not a huge amount that I'm sitting here saying like I need a boat or I need a car. Like I don't need any of that, you know. So for me, it doesn't make a material difference. I have said it to you before though, like I am in this wavering point of my life where I'm like I can tangibly feel my ambition, it has dropped, you know, from what it was when I was younger.
Do you reckon, we didn't talk about this at all, but do you reckon that has anything to do with now having completely retirement money, so therefore you really don't need to work now? Do you reckon that's actually accidentally fucked you up in a subconscious way you don't realise? Or
has set me free? You know, as in like, I don't know. I said this yesterday at the business show. Like, you get to a certain point, and unless you're loving the work that you do, if you have money, then I don't know why you're crucifying yourself all the time to work the hours and so forth. It was a great conversation we had with Nicola. Like, if you can, why wouldn't you optimize towards like more sport, time with friends? If you have kids, time with your kids, like family, time with the family, like
time with Dan.
Yeah, and other things. And you know, for me, I'm in this place where I'm like, I could actually very comfortably have a couple of quiet years, and I'm sure I'll come roaring back. But it's also okay to have a bit of seasonality to the ambition. But definitely, since I was a youngster, the ambition is wavering a bit. You know, I think that's fine. Yeah.
I think that's fine as well. And I think what's nice and healthy about it is recognizing.
Yeah.
And also maybe it's a moment in time and maybe it's not. But, you know, it might just be how you're feeling right now. It might be attached to the money coming in. It might also be attached to just, like you say, working so much for so long and being like, what, you know, hold on a second. Why am I on autopilot still?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, this isn't like podcasty chat, but I would say that my biggest regret of working that hard for that long was that I definitely lost friends. I haven't lost friends, but the depth of my relationship with certain people isn't as deep as it would have been had I not worked like that. Yeah. And I always do reflect on that. And I think I could spend a couple of years intentionally building those friendships. They would love it, I would love it, and I would have more time than they would to make those things happen. And so yeah, like I don't mind having a quieter period.
Over the last decade, Chris and I have started over a dozen businesses. It's not something we're particularly proud of, by the way, but it means we've had a lot of exposure to different business banks. You try one, you're not so happy, try another, you're not so happy. The cycle goes on. By this point, between us, we were laughing, but we tried them all. There was one we actually hadn't, and it's because they're newer, and we weren't really familiar with the fact that they had this option. So we wanted to try that based on our own knowledge and compare it. And I tell you what, it is head and shoulders above, and we are thrilled to be using and partnering with Wise Business.
Basically, Wise Business is the only account you need to get paid, pay employees and suppliers, and manage your business's money in multiple currencies.
Exactly. With Wise, you can do business across the world, pay, get paid, and manage your business's international money with ease.
And look, here's the thing. You actually save money as you grow. No hidden fees, no sneaky markups on exchange rates, and no ongoing subscription costs. It's like finding money in your pocket that you didn't know was there.
But my favorite part, and this is crucial, it's just so damn easy to use. I know because I'm the one who set it up for this company.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you're lazy. I was never going to get you to do it. But anyway, you can make payments in as little as a few seconds, and it integrates with all your business software.
You can easily withdraw funds from Amazon, Stripe, and more in multiple currencies. And it connects to accounting softwares like Xero and QuickBooks. But damn, what about security?
Well, as you know, every time you try and log in and take money out of the account without checking with us first, the security is amazing. They've got two-factor authentication, a 24/7 customer support team, and a fraud team working around the clock to keep Chris off our money. I could go on about all of the amazing features, but seriously, when you're a small company or even just starting one, there's already so much going on that having a payment service that's quick, easy, and by the way, most importantly, reliable is just an absolute necessity. And for that reason, we use Wise. If you want to get on board, it's simple. Just head to wise.com/business to learn more about how Wise could work for your business.
I guess something else you could do is maybe intentionally go after building relationships with people that you always looked up to that, you know, could be really interesting to bring new insight and new depth to your life.
Well, I played tennis because you obviously sort of semi-introduced us at Founders, but
I played. Call that a semi?
Yeah, I met Michael Acton-Smith at Founders, and like I genuinely didn't know who he was when I was talking to him. And then he mentioned something about how like he had loved playing tennis the week before. And I was like, I'm obsessed with tennis. I then played him for a few hours on Wednesday. We like hung out for a bit.
And then found out that he runs a multi-billion-dollar brand.
I mean, I knew by then who he was.
Right, okay.
But we didn't
so
talk
this is
about
Michael
work.
Acton-Smith, the founder of Calm, for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah, but we didn't talk about work.
Yeah.
Like like very briefly, he was like, "What are you up to these days?" And I kind of told him that I was doing the creator stuff, but I was actually taking a lot of time off. And he was like, "Oh, amazing! I feel like maybe I should be doing something like that." And it was a great afternoon, a quite chilled vibe.
Okay, so you played tennis with him. You've been playing quite a lot of paddle recently, no?
Pretty paddle obsessed,
Yeah.
to the point of view where I nearly let the ADHD entrepreneur get the better of me, and I nearly launched a paddle company. And then I think I just found myself in the throes of it and suddenly was like, what are you doing? You just like paddle. Just play loads of paddle. Stop trying to own the thing that you're going to, which I know a lot of people have with hotels. They're like, they go to a hotel and they're so amazing if I own this place. And then it's like, no, it wouldn't be, because like when your drink was late, you'd be, for fuck's sake, sort the staff out, and actually it would kill the whole thing. So yeah, playing enormous amount of paddle, really enjoying it. And I feel like that's like meditative for me at the moment, just like hanging with friends and playing.
I haven't played paddle in ages. Last time when I was in South Africa for a month, I played paddle regularly. Came back to the UK, I was like, right, that's it. I'm so into paddle now. Haven't been playing. It takes quite a lot of time. I don't live near anywhere that has paddle, and you know they're in these like quite.
So, actually, paddle down the road from here. We
Really?
should get the team.
Yeah, maybe we should play after one of our sessions actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't played in a while, and I'm going to Red Bull headquarters in a few weeks, and my meeting is with the commercial director, the head of performance, and the marketing director, or
Wow.
the CMO, and the meeting is a paddle game at their
Ooh.
HQ.
I could get on board with doing that business.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
Literally, they're like, we've got a paddle court because Max Verstappen apparently is obsessed with paddle, so they built him a paddle court there because that's where the drivers have to basically stay the whole time. And so now they just do their business meetings instead of in meeting rooms in paddle courts. That's so cool.
Yeah. I'm also thinking how bad a business meeting would be while playing paddle.
Don't know.
Yeah, like, well,
It's
I mean,
probably mostly for show.
unless the paddle was shit.
It's probably mostly for show, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really cool. Like, no one's ever offered me a paddle game as a... I mean, meetings are just meetings. This is so interesting.
I need to take you out for a paddle game and talk about
Destroy
podcasting.
me.
Yeah. So at Founders the other day, so Founders is your founder community that you've run for many, many years now, which is actually a very exclusive group to join. You have to be invited in. I was there with you on the weekend. It was amazing. And I met Hector from Unplugged, CEO of Unplugged. He runs this network of cabins around the country, and the business is called Unplugged. And you have to, I remember we spoke about how often you put your phone away. And we were talking about how incredible it is that people go and have full digital detox. I got obsessed with him and his business and talking to him, and you're his best customer.
Probably,
he was like,
probably his top customer.
He was like, Dan loves the same cabin. He was like, it's very strange, but Dan loves the same cabin and always tries to go to the same cabin.
They don't always have it available. It really winds me up. This summer I had to go all the way. All I wanted to do, basically, I've got a cabin that's like 45 minutes away from my house, so close. But you're in total nature and you're completely unplugged from anything. So if you've got a young child and you're going on your own, that's just so convenient.
Yeah.
But the more popular Unplugged gets, because I keep bloody telling people, the more booked up these cabins get. So this summer when I was like, I need to go to an Unplugged, the only one they had was in Sussex or somewhere.
And are you going solo?
This summer was the first time I went with my wife.
Okay.
It was a very different experience. It was actually really nice. I'm going again this end of year with my wife. I think going to Unplugged, so a cabin in the woods for 3 nights on your own, no phone, no internet. So you turn up and you get they give you a Nokia 3210. And so you can text. You know what I do is I get there, I text my mum and I text my wife and I say, if you need me, you can text me here. Obviously, it's so annoying to text on those phones nowadays. So you don't bloody text loads. But I was like, that's my emergency number. If you need to get a hold of me, you can do that. My phone is going in a box. I'm locking it and I'm done.
Is the box outside the room?
The box is in the room, but you have the key and, whatever. But and actually, to be honest, last couple of times I went, I just used my phone. I kept it on airplane mode.
Right.
So, but the important thing here is just to say, I can tell my whole team, it's the best time, when you're a parent, the best time for you to go is during the week because nursery or school is on. So the burden you're leaving with someone else is actually kind of similar to a normal burden, right? It's just like the school run and it's not that bad for 3 nights. So weekends are kind of out once you're a parent. So that means you're going during work time. So also what's amazing about this is you can literally say to your team, you can't contact me. You can, but there's no point. I won't see the message. So it's a really interesting thing. If you were to go to a hotel and say I'm on holiday, people would still message me.
Yeah, I'm going on holiday next week, and I guarantee I get loads of messages.
You will, but you've got better habits than me. I would respond.
You just have 2 phones. One phone is networked into your life, and one phone is networked into your wife. That's literally it. And then you just don't pick up the other phone. And I broadly believe.
Which one does your mistress use?
Christ, I broadly believe that the one that only my wife and my family have, like if someone desperately needed me at work and it was so important they couldn't work out themselves, they'd find a way. They'd find a way in. They'd maybe get hold of Lou's number and then come through. But I was so amazed by the reaction of all the entrepreneurs in the room who were like, yeah, Unplugged is the most amazing thing ever because we put our phones away. And I was thinking, but you could just put your phone away.
Do you know what I've just remembered?
What?
I've just remembered that A, you haven't got your birthday present yet, have you?
From?
Me.
Oh.
And B, the reason I just remembered this is because you were like, well, people want to find a way to get through to me, they'll find a way to get through to me. I just remembered that I messaged your brother to get some very important information out of him so I could get you the perfect present. Never fucking responded.
He didn't reply? No.
So it's not actually that easy to get a hold of you, it turns out.
Well,
anyway,
he's very good at it as well.
That's amazing. So your present's actually sitting in our office. I haven't had a chance to give it to you yet because we were going out drinking and forgot and all that stuff. Anyway, so turns out people around you not that good at helping me get a hold of you. Anyway, with Unplugged, the best thing about it is you're telling everyone else you can't get hold of me. And so you are literally alone with your thoughts, which might sound terrifying. It's insanely interesting.
Yeah.
It's not like you're sitting there meditating,
I have
by the way.
a very practical tip on this for everyone listening, is if you stop replying to people, eventually they will stop expecting a reply.
True.
And so, if you just remove yourself from 99% of conversations, people will just learn to have those conversations without you present. And eventually, in case, you course correct occasionally. But yeah, that's the best advice I could give.
And I think that's good. The thing is, I actually like that depth of connection with people. So I think there must be like a personality trait difference between us, because I don't know that
Maybe
sounds
I'm a psychopath.
Well, it doesn't motivate me. It doesn't like make me feel, oh, I want that in my life at all. But the flip side is, and maybe it's because I am just so extreme about things, I will, as you know, respond to people very quickly, and like I'm on, like everyone is always like, how are you so fast? That I just am like that. Like my ADHD serves me to be like all over all the things all the time. I also then will go somewhere like
Unplugged.
the cabin, unplugged, and unplug.
This is a great plug for Unplugged.
Yeah, but I will go there multiple times a year and get the extremity of the other addiction, which is no one can contact me at all.
Yeah.
And I'm
But
completely
what
alone.
are you doing? You're 3 days in a cabin, no phone. What are you doing with yourself? And don't tell us everything.
Different times. Very good. I got the joke. Different times. I'm actually, no internet is what I'll say on that point. So no internet, no imagination.
I mean, there's a lot of questions I have as a follow-up, but
right. Okay. I would say sometimes I do the most amazing amount of work ever. So I'm not necessarily always just going because whatever. Sometimes I'm going because I need creative inspiration for work. And I will bring these like giant post-it notes, these like tabletop A3 post-it notes, basically. Wow. And I have this whole thing, and I stick them to the walls all around. So I end up looking like one of those, like mad scientists.
Yeah.
But I write things all over the walls because it's my cabin for a few days. And anytime I've got an idea and a thing, I like write it over here and over there.
God, if someone was to see you from the outside.
Yeah, mate. Honestly, you look like a psycho doing that.
Wow.
But that doesn't tend to happen. No one does see you. So sometimes I do that. And sometimes, at the end of a year, I'll think about, okay, I'll do a yearly reflection. So every year for the last few years, I've created a manifestation and reflection guide. Spent multiple days creating this guide for myself. I then sent it around the founders community. Everyone absolutely loved it. Then turned it into a lead magnet for Heights. So when we launched, it was one of our main drivers of new email addresses was this manifestation and reflections guide. Ali Abdel found it, used it, did a whole video on it.
And this came from the cabin.
This didn't come from the cabin. I did this previous to the cabin, but the exercise itself takes 4 or 5 hours, and it's hard to find those 4 or 5 hours, in London and whatever else. So I'll start a retreat at the end of the one I'm going on, in December. I'll start my retreat by doing that for 4 or 5 hours, and by doing that, I will think, it's a set of questions, and I will intentionally have space after that to then really deeply think about what I want to do next year. What are the holidays I want to go on? Who do I want to spend time with more than other people? Because now my life is so busy. I've got multiple businesses. I've got multiple business partners. I've got my wife. I've got a daughter. You can't do all of the things. So being really intentional. For example, next year, I want to go on safari. I want to do it with my mum, and I want to do it with my daughter and my wife. But I'm worried that if I delay that any longer, maybe my mum won't be able to do it as well. And so it's being intentional. I want to do that. I want to take my daughter skiing because she'll be 3 turning 4. So I want to go on her first ski holiday. I want to, there's all these things I want to do. And then there's all the practical things as well. And so can only do that if I'm really thinking, what are the must-have things over the year? And for me to do that, the cabin and the space to just sit and be present. Yeah, it's powerful.
You know what's funny about being an entrepreneur? Everyone thinks that we're these super productive machines, crushing it 24/7. But let me tell you a secret. Half the time, I'm just trying to figure out where I saved that one important file from 3 weeks ago.
Really? But you're so organized.
Yeah, well, I'm about to be, because I've been testing the HP OmniBook Ultra Flip, and oh my God, this thing is like having a personal assistant that actually knows what they're doing.
All right.
You know those days when you've got back-to-back calls? Well, you're about to make some great first impressions, because the Poly Camera Pro is insane. It tracks your face, fixes the lighting, and makes you look like you've had a professional film crew, even when you're working from your kitchen.
Yeah, it's tough to focus when you're out of focus.
I might legitimately look better in the Poly Camera Pro than I do in person. I shouldn't even bother having in-person meetings anymore. Anyway, here's where it gets really interesting. We're always talking about working smarter and not harder.
Yeah, that's very much your thing. I haven't quite mastered it like you just yet.
I've told you, delegate. Let the HP AI companion focus on the research so you can focus on what really matters. It can analyze documents, summarize reports, and even help you draft content. It can even summarize 10,000 words in seconds.
Wow, that's actually really amazing.
I know. Here's what I love most about the AI companion. It just helps you get to the point.
Yeah, I'm a vision person. So let's keep things at the top so we can make a decision and move forward.
Exactly. The AI companion can analyze an entire research paper in seconds, pull out the main insights, and even suggest action items. Work smarter with the right tools. Work doesn't have to feel like work. Look, I've built and sold companies worth millions, and I can tell you, the HP OmniBook Ultra Flip isn't just another laptop. It's like having an entire support team built into your computer. And here's the thing, whether you're just starting out or scaling up, this is the kind of tech that actually makes the difference. It's not just fancy features. It's about giving you back time to focus on what matters, building your business. This isn't just an upgrade, it's an absolute game changer. And trust me, once you try it, you'll wonder how you ever managed without it.
For 10% off, use our code HP Love Work. That's HP LOVEWORK. Valid until 31st of January. T's and C's apply. UK only. The downside of coming out of the cabin is obviously you then get a ton of emails and a ton of everyone's been trying to contact you and you're trying to keep up. And that first day back can feel a bit anxiety inducing if you haven't kept on top of things, which you won't have done by nature.
Yeah.
Do you relate to what I mean? Do you get anxiety from sort of spending time away?
I don't, not these days, no, but I obviously ran a business when I was a youngster that didn't have much money, and therefore, like, I feel like in the early stages of your career, you're fueling the business with your blood, sweat, and tears. True. Literally, you're plastering over the gaps that you would otherwise pay to plaster, And so at that stage, like, for sure, if you were to ask Louise would say, like, in our first couple of years in a relationship, first 5 years, Chris would just work through every holiday. He'd be on the whole time. And then as time has gone on, I've become better at realizing that if I ran a business that required me to be on the whole time, I'm not really running a business. I'm like a glorified freelancer. And so, like, I think that I intentionally these days set rules around, like, if I'm going on holiday, I will call all of my business partners and I will say, like, I'm not accessible on holiday unless it's like a fucking emergency. And by an emergency, like, the place is burning down type thing. And then just
someone else get the sense he's trying to tell me something.
Set the rules.
Message received.
You set the rules with business partners, and then I put the phone away. And so, like, my hope is that when I open my phone in 2 weeks, like, I've not been bombarded with nonsense. They've got on with their lives, and it is what it is. And I think that I'm obviously at a later stage in my career than when I was when I started. And so I think that entrepreneurs in general often think they're like superheroes and feel like they need to solve every problem. But I feel like in many ways, by solving every problem for everyone else, you are teaching them to not solve their own problems. And so I think course correction is obviously key. But if I leave everyone to their own devices with some course correction, they just get better at their jobs.
It's quite interesting. I can't relate to what you're saying. I'm not as good as this. So do you ever get the insecurity that you become so good at it, you're pretty much redundant in your own business?
I feel that, honestly, the thing you should be aiming at is making yourself redundant in the business, because there is no better feeling than the business running and working around you and things happening without you having to do it. And I think that is, like, in a classical sense, I feel that's value creation. And I feel like from a personal perspective, I am optimizing these days for as much time as possible, not working as working. And so if the businesses are working without me, the dream.
That sounds like business enlightenment 101.
I'm feeling it at the moment.
You're actually kind of shining from it.
You're like, I would say that one of the things I always like looked at on your channels was that you quite intentionally don't set New Year's resolutions.
Oh yeah, true.
Why is that?
I kind of feel like resolutions, two things. One, resolutions kind of end up making me feel guilty. I probably don't end up keeping them for too long, and then you're all like, oh God, I'm doing the thing that I said I wouldn't, or whatever. So there's almost like a negative connotation to a resolution, which seems to me to play into negative bias in your head, which sends you on a negative spiral. And then secondly, I think that they broadly don't work. The science of them proves,
is that right?
Yeah, the science of them proves that most
New Year's
of them
resolutions don't work.
No. So I think are much more interesting. Like, obviously they do for some, but broadly speaking, they're not. They're not.
That's so weird, because I would have thought, like, I swear scientifically, people who are more directional are more successful.
Well, that's very different, right? So that's kind of the thing. A resolution is, I'm going to stop doing this and I'm going to commit to doing that.
Like, I've been giving up smoking since I've been doing resolutions.
Well, it sounds like it's working then. It's a good example.
Yeah.
So...
yeah, give me a beer and then I'll...
Yeah. So instead I do a word for the year. So what I think is really interesting is having a single guiding force. Again, this might be because of my ADHD. I know if I have too many things, I'm going to distract myself. Also, when I was at my worst, my absolute depth of despair, my company had failed, I had insomnia, I was really depressed, I had chronic anxiety, I knew that I had to change my life.
What was the word?
What, back then?
Yeah.
I'm trying to bloody
Recovery.
remember. No,
M&M.
do you know what? I was going to say the habit. So I learned how to build habits.
Right.
And to build habits, you've got to go slowly. You've got to pick one thing. And the one habit that I picked back then, first, was gratitude. Because there's a lot of science around gratitude. So 3 things that went well today is the scientifically proven, it's one of the only scientifically proven concepts in psychology, full stop, which is mostly a pseudoscience. But gratitude practice can be proven with fMRI technologies in neuroscience. So literally changes your brain and makes you more positive.
So practically,
as a person.
someone listening, what can they do?
So practically, what I did was because I'm a nerd, I went and learned Martin Seligman's course on positive
If
psychology.
they're not going to do that.
If they're not going to do that, just learn gratitude practice or the 3 things. It's called the 3 things gratitude practice. It's literally as simple as 3 things that went well today. And that's it. And I practiced that every single day for 3 months, and I noticed that I was feeling more positive. And then I introduced going for a daily walk. And now years later, I've got tons of daily habits that are just second nature to me.
What else you got?
Well, before we get into that, I'll answer the first question,
Right.
which is my word for the year.
Okay.
So I learned that I don't do well with multiple things. So I want to focus on one thing. The most likely and positive way to create change is to look at things in decades. So actually, to live an intentional life, back to your point, to try and become the person you want to be, you want to change or you want to improve or whatever, I found that having one word will bring me back to something. And this year's word was creativity. And the reason is because last year I got so into the weeds of my business. It wasn't going well. Heights, it was like flat. And everything was crisis, and problem. And it was stagnant and it was sucking and I hated it.
And for context for everyone, Dan probably doesn't talk about this enough these days, but his business is like 3x this year.
It's gone very well. It has gone very well.
Wild.
So this year, and partly responsible, as I need to change this stuff. So creativity was my word. I put creative process into Heights. I'm learning to DJ. I've done like so many different things that I don't otherwise.
You can make our soundtrack moving forwards.
You don't want that right now. Right now is an ear sore. But the point with creativity is realizing that I am a creative person and I'd sucked that part out of my life by too focused on the crisis of my business and that wasn't going to serve me. So having that word, all it meant was I still go about my day-to-day life, but occasionally I'm just like, oh yeah, what am I even doing this month that's creative? Nothing. Well, I better go and do something about that. It helped in business and it helped in my personal life. And I've found it to be really helpful. People that I suggest this to, who pick one word for their year, can keep coming back to that one word and create a driving force in their life that actually takes them on a better path.
I like it.
Yours should be stop smoking.
2 words.
What is quite fun and very helpful for us is, by coincidence, where we film our podcast, Cube, is also where I'm learning to DJ.
Where are you DJing here?
Literally, like, there's 3 rooms over there. I've been on Tuesday night with
So
a
when
bunch
you're
of
not
founders.
in one of these rooms with me, and we spend a lot of time in these rooms.
We do.
You're in another room here.
I'm in another
DJing.
room here DJing with a whole bunch of other
Fucking hell.
founders.
I don't know. With other founders?
Yeah.
Why is this all new to me?
Yeah.
Have you told me this before?
Don't think so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Count me out.
Look.
See? Okay, fine. So you're obviously big into your fitness, and I obviously see a lot of your posts now that are talking about fitness, but also like protein intake and being more intentional about health. Like, how's that going?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Actually, last year at Unplugged, I read Outlive. It's another good thing you can do at Unplugged is read massive books and take notes. So I read Outlive by Peter Attia. It's all about longevity.
Yeah.
And I decided to just follow his protocol because I'd been too focused on aesthetics, let's say, and that kind of stuff means that I go to the gym a little bit and then I don't get the outcome that I wanted and then I give up and all this kind of stuff. So this is much more about thinking about what you want to be able to do fitness-wise at 100. So imagine you're going to live a long and healthy life. What do you need to do? And so I've been following his protocol 3 or 4 times a week, weightlifting, and 2 times a week, some kind of zone 2 exercise for an hour or so. And,
Because James Watt was saying that he thinks that to be at the level you need to be a successful entrepreneur, you're like a performance athlete. What do you think about that?
Yes, I think it's a great insight. To be fair, I think if you can't take care of your brain and body, you probably don't have the responsibility, capability of taking care of your company and your people.
I would like to say to other people that I think It's all a lot of nonsense, personally. Like, I feel like I was never healthy.
Well, this is the opposite side of the argument, right? How many people do you see, like proper, like fat American CEOs who are running unbelievable companies?
I think you can be healthy, you can be fit. You don't have to be a bloody performance athlete. And I think entrepreneurs calling themselves performance athletes, I always do find quite funny, because like they manage to go to the gym a couple times a week and they're like, oh my God.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Longevity specialist over here.
Tell you what, we had a really
an omega-3, mate. You know what I mean?
We had an exciting, like the other day we launched Germany and we decided to go out at Heights, and we decided to take the team out and celebrate it, whatever. And we all went to One Rebel, which I've never been to before.
It's great.
Is so much fun, but Christ, was
it's like a rip-off of Barry's.
Yeah, totally. Was I not a performance athlete that day? I mean, I just looked pathetic.
On the treadmill? Was it boxing?
On all of it, yeah, it's boxing.
Okay, yeah. So boxing, then tread, back and forth.
Yeah, and let me just say that my team seemed much more like high-performance athletes than me.
Yeah, fair enough, yeah.
I was just like old fucking fat dad loser in the corner.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's very important to stay healthy, but I just think the way that... It's like the vernacular, right? I think the way that entrepreneurs now, everyone like reads a bit of Brian Johnson and everyone's like suddenly like scientifically know everything about everything, and everyone's like self-identifying as high-performing athletes. It's just hilarious.
Flip side to that,
yeah.
Look at James Watt and his company, and then look at us.
Yeah. I mean...
You build $1 billion company and tell me what a high-performance athlete should or shouldn't do or look like.
Yeah, I think that's true. I also do think underlying...
Mate, the guy is fucking drinking beer all the time and managing to run a company that size. You got to be quite high-performing to manage that.
And don't get me wrong, I like James
We had a few beers and basically like rolled out of here and didn't work again for about a week.
Yeah, and I would say that it's interesting that some companies, I think you've got really impressive entrepreneurs who are in harder companies. I'm not saying specifically to us, but I think it's a little bit like survivor bias on that one.
Yes.
Because I think he's really impressive. I think the company's amazing. But at the same time, I think that time and place is part of the equation of a £1 billion company. You know, I know so many entrepreneurs that I think are fundamentally brilliant, and they're sort of stuck a little bit by the business they're in. And so when they sell those businesses, I expect them to go on and do massive things afterwards.
Yeah.
And so the test for James would be, if he does it again, then he's unquestionable.
Yeah. But I feel like this is your roundabout way of saying that you don't identify me as a high-performance athlete.
Nor myself. I mean, God, no.
Okay, hope you enjoyed this kind of different chatty format for this week. Next Tuesday, we've got the founder, one of the most powerful women in the UK, actually, the founder of Mumsnet, one of the biggest social media networks in the world, Justine Roberts, joining us. And Chris, see us out.
Yeah, well, I'm going on holiday, so don't get in touch with me, don't call me, don't message me, and I'll see you when I'm back.
Yeah, and don't message me because I'll just be tempted to find a way to get a hold of Chris. So until next week.
But do remember to like and subscribe and rate us 5 stars on all the audio channels.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next week.
I'm Chris.
I'm Dan.
And this was Secret Leaders.